The Scream franchise, and this was created by the late great Wes Craven, the king of horror, if you will. And the franchise has evolved over the years with various entries. We are now on the 6th one, and I wanted to talk about all of them. And what better way to do that is to give you a tier list and rank all of the Scream movies. So sit back and relax and get mad at my ranking list, because here it is. This is my Scream tier list. So let's just start off in the beginning. We're going to go from the first film all the way to the latest film, and let's start off with talking about the one that started it all, this first Scream. Now, I don't know what I can say to add to this film that hasn't already been said by various other reviewers on this platform, but I will say that this film still holds up. The suspense, the scares, the characters in this film, they all hold up, and they all are like the beginning of our love for the Scream franchise. And we also see this, the start of the first kill, if you will. The opening kill is very famous in the Scream films, and this is the first one we get with the famous Drew Barrymore. And it would go on to be so famous that other movies would recreate the first killing scene with Drew Barrymore. Scary Movie did its take on it, and we got a lot of scary movies as well. And I don't know if that was the intention of Scream when it first came out, to just have a spoof franchise of it, but that happened. But we are also introduced to Neve Campbell's Sidney Prescott in this film, and I think to this day, Sidney is a underrated final girl. I mean, she goes through a lot of character development from the first film all the way to the 5th film, and like I said, I feel like to this day she's still underrated as the quintessential final girl. I mean, she fights a whole bunch of Ghostface, and later on we'll get into who those Ghostface are in the film. But I mean, it goes from her boyfriend to some relatives to all sorts of crazy things, and all throughout that she is still fighting for her life. She's not letting these Ghostface, these killers, bring her down, and I think it's pretty amazing. It's pretty cool. But I think this is a no-brainer. We're going to put Scream 1995 in the S tier. Jumping on to the second film, 1997 Scream 2. They didn't waste any time on releasing the sequel, and we get more of the same that we'd liked in the first film. Yeah, the second film still has a little bit of issues, but I think for the overall package that we got was really, really decent. A really good sequel to a already great start of a franchise. I will say that there is one thing that I think that the franchise later regrets that they did, and that is killing off Jamie Kennedy's character, Randy Meeks. I think he was like the heart and soul of the franchise, and as we'll get to in the sequels after it, they are looking for that Randy type character in those sequels to fill in the gaps, to kind of tell our audience, because the Scream franchise is very meta in its storytelling, and Randy was that outlet, that person to tell us as the audience what is going on, who is the killer, the setup of how things are going to play out. And like I said, I think it was a mistake for them to kill him off so soon in the sequel. I know they were going for shock value, and trust me, when I first saw that they killed off Randy, I was shocked. But as we will get to, you can really feel his presence being lost in the sequels that followed. It's still a good film, and I really, really enjoy it. I think Sidney, again, she's in college in this one, and her character is just elevating from the first film. She's getting stronger. She's dealing with these traumas that she is going through, and she's just a badass final girl. And again, the opening kill in this film, with Jada Pinkett Smith, it's pretty terrifying. It kind of scared me from going to theaters after a while. I made my sister watch this when I was a kid, when she was very little too. Yeah, kind of scared her half to death. She doesn't want to go into movie theaters by herself ever again after that. Sorry about that, sis. But we're putting Scream 2 in the A tier. Scream 3. Now, this is arguably the most hated Scream film in the entire franchise. But I think, as of late, I think people are getting, softening up to Scream 3. They're realizing, it's not that good, but it's not that bad either. It's not the worst thing ever. Sydney's back again, and she's having hallucinations. She's seeing things. It's kind of supernatural, or not really. But I find it funny that people at the time, this came out in the 2000s, and at the time they didn't like that the Scream franchise was going that route. But I do find it funny that in the new Scream films, Sam, our lead character, is having similar visions. She's seeing her dead father. She's struggling with this psychoticness that's going in her mind. Is she actually a killer? Does she like killing stuff? And at the time, like I said, it's Scream 3, people didn't like that aspect, but now people are warming up to it. I just find it very interesting. But like I said, this isn't the best Scream film. There is some kind of like weirdness, and the reveal of the killer being Sidney's brother is kind of funny and weird, and how did we get here kind of thinking. But I still think it's a decent, fun film if you like the Scream franchise. It's just more Scream, so there's nothing really wrong with that aspect. So Scream 3 is going in the B tier. So Scream 4, I came late to the game of watching this film. I remember when it first came out, and I was like really excited because I like the Scream franchise and I wanted to see Scream 4. And years would go by and I haven't seen it. But, since the new film came out, I wanted to watch all the films, and I finally watched Scream 4, and I gotta say, that was a crazy ride. It's really weird. But I think in a good way. I mean, I think at this point we're 3 films in, and the kind of like the allure and the mystique of the whodunit and trying to figure out who's the killer, we're kind of like veterans. We're veteran detectives at this point, and we can kind of spot who we think the killer is. But I think Scream 4 does a really good job of misdirection. At this point, Sidney Prescott is pretty much at peak Sidney mode, and she's kind of like zero fucks given. She hears or sees that there is a Ghostface impersonator or Ghostface wannabe, she's going after them. She's like running towards Ghostface in this film. She's like, come on dude, let's fight. I'm done with this stuff. But I also think that in this film, this is where the lack of Randy Meeks in the franchise anymore is really, shown in here. It's really felt in this film, because they introduced some kids, some film kids that are pretty much the Randys of the franchise now, and they're like, doing the same thing that Randy would do, explaining how horror movies work and everything. Introduce Kirby, who is also a horror movie enthusiast, and it just feels kind of like, we could have had Randy doing all this the entire time, so they just threw these kids in here to make up for that loss. And I kind of felt like it was a little bit convoluted, that the way that they were explaining it at times. That's just me. I know a lot of people like Scream 4 and everything. They hold it very high in regards, but I think it's a good movie. I'm not saying it's bad at all, but I just feel like that this is the first time that we're seeing that maybe that some of the stuff that they did in the earlier films kind of, bit them in the butt, and now they're gonna kind of have to make up for it. But I will say that Scream 4 has some of the craziest ending sequence that I've seen in a whole Scream movie, or just a slasher movie in general. It was freaking crazy, and I loved it. And with that, Scream 4 is going to be headed to the B tier. All right, we're finally getting to the current day new Scream films with Scream. I still don't know why they didn't call it Scream 5, but again, another mistake that they made, and they quickly pivoted to the next film, and they're like, Scream 6, guys! Yeah, there's a 6th film, even though we called the last one Scream. But this is the reintroduction to all the characters that we love. We got Dewey back, we got Gail, we got Sidney. Everybody is coming back for one more ride, as they kind of advertised when this film came out. And I have mixed feelings about Scream 5. I'm going to be calling it Scream 5 because that's what they should have been doing. While I really think that the legacy characters did an amazing job of coming back to this franchise, again, I know I've been talking about Sidney Prescott, Neve Campbell's performance. She's, again, at high level here. She's right back where she started, and she's like, I'm going after Ghostface. I'm going to stop this. But I do think that the new characters that they introduced in here, which will later go on to be called the Core 4, which I kind of love. In this initial film, I don't really, get attachment to them. I don't really care for them. And the lead character that's supposed to be like the new Sidney Prescott, Sam, in this film, she doesn't do it for me. She's not very a very compelling character. I don't really care about her. The most interesting thing to me about Sam and her character is who her father is. Her father is Billy Loomis, who's used to be Sydney's ex-boyfriend, well, dead boyfriend. So I guess that would technically, yeah, he's an ex because he's dead ex, But I will say that they are growing on me, all the rest of the gang, you got Chad and Tara, I mean, who doesn't like Tara in this film? It's Jenna Ortega. The year of Jenna Ortega continues. It went from 2022 and now we're bleeding into 2023. I'm fine with that. Just got announced that she is going to be Lydia's daughter in Beetlejuice 2. Throw her in anything, you're going to have a hit on your hand. We just know it. But the more and more I sit on Scream 5, the more and more that I come around to it and thinking that, it's pretty good. It's not what I wanted in the franchise, but again, I know it's just a reintroductory into the franchise, a restarting, a requel, if you will, to the series. And, even though that I'm not the biggest fan of it, I do appreciate some of the stuff that they did put in this film. So with that, I'm going to put Scream 5 in the B tier. All right, we're at the final stretch and we're going to be talking about Scream 6. And I had a little bit of hesitation going into Scream 6 because of what I talked about previously. Sam's character, Sam Carpenter, I'm not really, vibing with her as a lead. And I have to say, after watching Scream 6, I'm still not vibing with her as a lead. I will say she's very, very much improved. Everybody across the board, the core four, I love saying that, I know it's cheesy, but I love it. They have all, exceeded my expectations as far as their character development going into this film. And I also think that the change of pace, the change of setting, we're not in Woodsboro anymore, we're in New York City. And it just allows Ghostface to, expand the way that he does things, He can kill people in broad daylight and while the person is screaming bloody murder and people are just walking around like it's normal because it's freaking New York. So I'm assuming most people just hear people screaming all the time. And again, I think that the opening kill in this scene is pretty crazy. I mean, they drag it on for a long, long time where the points I was like, I don't even know what's going to be happening here. Is this what's going on? I mean, they reveal the killer like in 2 seconds of the film and you're like, whoa, that's the first time that they did. So I did like that aspect that they are still continuing that surprise factor with the Scream franchise. But like I said, I'm still not really convinced and still don't really know how I feel about Sam Carpenter as the lead. There's just something about her that I'm not really, vibing with. The rest of the characters, like I said, the core four, I'm gonna still say it, makes up for what Sam lacks, So you have Chad, who is like the new Dewey of the group, but he can actually fight back and, he gets stabbed and beat up and chopped up all the time and he keeps on coming back, just like Dewey. And then you have like the Gale, I guess, of the group, which would be Tara, Sam's sister. She's just like, I don't give a shit, I'm gonna go confront Ghostface, do all that stuff. And then you have the new Randy character in Mindy. So, you get that whole core that they got going on. And I really hope, going forward, they don't do the same mistake that they did in the second Scream film and kill off that Randy character. Because Mindy is our guide throughout these films of like teaching us and telling us, what is going to be happening, how this is going to be playing out. She's the one that coined the term the requel. She's talking about now that we're past the requel, it's the sequel to the requel. We're in a franchise now. And I thought that was really cool, and how she was laying out all the blueprints of how things are going to go. Thought it was really cool. We need this character, so make sure Scream franchise, just keep her. Okay, we can't have this. They did scare me in this movie a couple of times because I thought certain people were dead, and I was like, damn, they were really gonna go there. So the more I think about it, the more and more I like Scream 6, and because of that, Scream 6 is going in the A tier. So that is it, guys. This is my tier list for all 6 Scream films. Look at it, be mad at it. Let me know what your list is in the comments down below. What tiers do you put all 6 of the Scream films? Let me know in the comments down below. I know some of you are going to be mad where I put all these movies, that I didn't put Scream 3 in the F tier or the D tier or anything like that. But guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out my Twitter so you can stay up to date with my channel. And remember, guys, keep watching movies.